All right, so if you meant to be in the listening to students session, you're in the right place. Otherwise, you're now stuck with us. My name is Shannon Ferris, and I'm going to facilitate our panel. As great as this classroom is, we're not really set up very well for a panel discussion. So I'm going to stand back here and do their technology. It's going to look a little strange, but hopefully it'll work well in practice. So the purpose of this panel is to do sort of think about listening to students in two ways. One is we're going to take a little bit of a look at the research that some of our departments at USC have done. And then we actually have students here. So hopefully the two will play off one another. Please feel free to ask questions as well. The idea of listening is kind of a 360-degree thought. What I'd like to do is start with our panel introducing themselves. And then we'll talk a little bit about the research. So, Emi, if you'll start.
Hi, my name is Emi Sumida. I'm actually postdoc fellow at USC. I work at student counseling services and also disability service and programs. And I'm a one-note panel as a student because I've been a student for a long, long time. I'm from Japan. I've been 7 institutions in my life, to all American universities and colleges. And then I also present data utilization of counseling services by international students.
Hi, I'm Michelle Choi. I'm from Hong Kong, and I lived in Connecticut for the last 4 years. Currently, I'm a rising sophomore, and my major will be communications. And this summer, I'm here working for marketing for USC Housing, and later on, I'm doing PR for USC Athletics, and I'm trying to reach out to international students.
Hello everyone, I'm Hashim. I am from India and I am doing my master's in petroleum engineering. I'll be graduating in August in summer 2011, in like 2 months. And school has been really hectic. I don't know, the time just flies. And I'll be looking for a job later on. Right now I'm working at the Office of International Services as a student worker, and I really love my job.
My name is Najib Al-Samarai. I'm the Associate Director of the Testing Bureau. And one of the first stops for international students is to come to take the test, which is the ISE exams for international students. And it happens that I've been administering the test for the last 15 years or so. And I'll share with you some of the main things that I believe are important for international students to know about the what we call it, the ISE test. Thank you.
And I'm Janice Shafrick, and I work for the Center for Academic Support. I also work in Disability Services. And I do a number of things, but one of the things that we really put priority on is assessment. So today we're going to be talking about the assessment that we're doing, particularly for a summer bridge program for international students.
Hello everyone, I'm Jack Trump. I'm in residential education, and I am here, was asked to speak toward a piece of the research that's in here on our student satisfaction survey specific to our international students.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that research. I guess you're up first.
Okay, you can go ahead and put the next one. You see here some information of our residential satisfaction survey. Before I get to speaking about that, I'll talk a little bit about the information that was actually in the brochure. In 2009, there was a large increase in our student international population, and because of that, some of our senior administrators asked residential education to do some assessment with our students living in our residence halls to see how they're doing, how they're acclimating. And so all of our resident advisors, our student staff, met with our international students one-on-one to ask them some questions. And it was a scripted, it was kind of a scripted dialogue. They asked very similar questions, even though we wanted it to be more of a conversational format. And we got some good data from that. And so the following year, we decided to incorporate it into our residential satisfaction survey. And you can see here the numbers that were actually, the numbers we received. So I think you can read that. Okay, so as you see here, it seems that whenever they ask about their movement experience and relationships with roommates and neighbors, most of them having a very positive experience. As you see, 248 of the 273 either strongly satisfied or satisfied with their move-in experience, and a similar response for relationships. So we felt that was pretty good. Okay. We also asked, what are some of the things that you do to relieve stress? And interestingly, a large number of them hang out with friends. It's interesting because they could be doing other things while they're hanging out with those friends as well, but being that was specifically asked, that was a large one. And music seems to be very popular as well. When we asked about support systems, a lot of them are very connected with their family, and a very similar percentage actually utilize their resident advisors as a support network as well. We appreciated that. Yes?
The data that you're putting out right now, is this just international students?
This,
Is this all students?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm sitting in today for a colleague who wasn't able to make it. So I can't answer that question for you, but if you... Okay, there you go. Okay, next time. As far as successes with academics, 60% of them seem to say that they're obtaining new knowledge and doing well and making some good grades on their tests. Go ahead and next one. As far as some of the challenges, however, 57% say it's a little too hard, and 37% say that there's not quite enough time to finish assignments. There was also some interesting data that was pulled out from the comments regarding writing 140. We didn't specifically ask any questions about writing 140, but there were several comments where they suggested that the class was very difficult. We found that to be interesting, so there you go. Okay. Going back to the integrating into the community, overall, most of them are very satisfied. They felt that we could do a little bit better with the dates and allowing some time there. Some of them felt staying in the hotels, coming early, and not being able to move in was some extra challenges. They also mentioned something about a welcome kit as well would be nice. So that's my part.
Hi, next is, well, I'm a presenter. I'm going to present some data from counseling services. So, thank you. I have a data from 2008 to 2011, and in 2008 is from like June to December, and this year, of course, from January to today. So like those 2 years are for 6 months. Counseling centers serve about 8 to 9% of whole university population, and then each year more and more international students. 2009 we hit 5% of all international students. We serve that, and then 2010 it's past 5. It's about 5.4%. And this year we expecting to have a 6%, about 6% of international students. They want to come to counseling center and then receive some services. And this is a number they make appointment with this therapist. So outreach, group, consultation, like a phone call from a faculty asking about how they can help international students, those are not included. And also some hospitalization, those numbers are not included. This is just for making appointment and come to see therapist. Yes?
Do you interpret that as an increase in the frequency of having difficulties or willingness to reach out to you?
At that point, I am not sure. I think university, next incoming, like freshman, this fall, we expecting to have about 17% of freshmen is going to be international students. So it's a huge increase of number to come to USC. So I'm sorry, can I answer that question?
It's a difficult question.
Yeah.
Can I just add,
Yes.
One psychologist there, our new director who's come like 2 or 3 years ago was really pushing towards the international student population, so it might be increased visibility and willingness in that regard as well. And I know sometimes our interns will collaborate with other departments to do like health assessments of that population, so that might be
Thank you, Isabel. She's one of our staff psychologists from Counseling Center. She's a senior staff. And next is Nikki. Since she's also Counseling Center staff. So yeah, please check. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Next slide. So, and we run some analysis, and those are 4 major issues they bring to the therapy. One is academic problem, relationship problems, and anxiety and depression. Okay.
I have a question. When
Yeah.
you say relationships, is that family relationships or, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend kind of relationships,
Okay.
or covering it all?
Yeah, we, our record system, we have 4 or 5 different type of relationship we can record. One is parent and child relationship, partner relationship, like a general friendship, relationship issues, and siblings. So those are the content of relationship. Anything to add?
I would say probably connecting with the general community. Sometimes it can be partner or family, but that's no different than everyone else having a family problem. But sometimes their isolation or being able to kind of connect in their program with the greater communities. That's what I've seen anecdotally.
And
I just wanted to ask the students a question. If you thought that USC had unlimited resources to drive programs to students that were international, what could USC do better?
I think USC is doing a perfectly good job of exposing international students to programs, but I think it's incentive. It's whether they want to do it or not. That's the issue that needs to be addressed.
Well, I think I'm pretty satisfied with what USC offers to us. I can't think of anything which I wish to have a USC provide to us, but I think I'm pretty satisfied with what we have as services.
All right, on that note, let's transition to Eugene and testing.
Thank you. I'll be just talking shortly about a few of the issues related to the ISE exam. One of them, the test offered by ALI and administered by the Testing Bureau. And basically it's to assess their proficiency level in English so they can place them in the right classes for writing, speaking, or other classes to improve their proficiency in English so they can be successful in the school. However, there is a question, who needs to take the test? Because not all international students need to take the test. There are certain conditions, one of which, if they score enough on the TOEFL, which is test for English proficiency, it's a standardized test administered by ETS, which is Educational Testing Services, and it's offered all over the world. If they score 600 or above, they don't need to take the ISE test, in this case when they come to campus. However, if they score less, they need to take the test. And based on the test, some of them might be waived off the English requirement. They don't need to take the course. Almost 40% of them, in fact, they waived out based on the test. The test is designed to place, as I mentioned, the students at the appropriate level on their English proficiency. However, some of them, when they come here to campus, are not familiar with certain processes or procedures, one of which, whether they can take a course in their major beside the courses for English. And basically, to answer this question, it's a lot. Depend on their major and depend on how many English courses they are taking. They can talk to their academic advisors and to their schools as well as to American Language Academy, and they can take certain courses in their major beside the courses at ALI, which is the language proficiency courses. One of the things that we notice, of course, and we try very hard to take care of this, as I mentioned earlier when I introduced myself, we are the first point when the students come. They have to take the test before they can take any steps. And what's involved here is the anxiety level. Coming to a new culture, coming to a new institution, their anxiety level is very high. However, one of the things that we do at the testing bureau, we try to bring this down by giving them enough information ahead of time as much as we can before the test so we can lower their anxiety. And this is one of the reasons why the majority of them do really well on the test. As I mentioned, about 40% of them waived out of the language requirement based on the test. And I can contribute this to the type of treatment they get at the first point to lower their anxiety level. If you have any questions.
What kinds of things do you do to lower that anxiety level?
Well, as I mentioned, giving them enough information, yeah. It's a great question. Giving them enough information about the test. Before the test, we go over some general information, such as what they need to do, how long the test will take, and once they are in the room, we assign them seats and so forth, and then we go further in details about what the test all about and so forth, and explaining to them the time that they need and what will be the following steps after the test, when they can get the results. All this information, in fact, contribute to lowering their anxiety level to the point that they feel like attending any other class.
And Janice?
Okay, that's me, Janice. What I wanted to present was kind of our process. Here, we're exploring the need for a summer bridge program for international students. We currently have a summer bridge program for our domestic students, and we are conducting a longitudinal study. We have a comparison group. I think it's a terrific piece of assessment. And our outcomes have indicated that it has been successful in terms of academic standing of our summer bridge students, their GPA, their graduation rates, and then just adjustment to USC in general. So we're now looking to identify characteristics of international students to be in our potentially new summer bridge program. And so our idea was who might be at risk, who might benefit from this kind of a program. We just defined at risk kind of arbitrarily as a GPA less than 2.0. We could really define it in any way, but this was pretty straightforward. And our research question going into this is who would we invite to participate in this program if we actually had a summer bridge program. So it's really a relatively straightforward process. What we did was we requested data from the registrar's office, which is now Frank Chang. He's fabulous, very accessible. We also work with Christy Rainey and Kin Nong, and they're both really, really great to work with. Through Frank, we get the academic information. Through Christy and Kin, we get some of the demographic information on the students. And we started with a few research questions and some informed hypotheses, but we're using really an exploratory process here. What are the characteristics of some of our international students who are currently at risk? And so some of the characteristics or data that we requested were the academic information and the demographic information. This was already presented by Dr. Daniels, but the overall question was, what is the citizenship country of our undergraduate international students? And just as she'd indicated, from 2005 to 2010, we found that South Korea, China, Hong Kong, Canada, Indonesia, and India and Taiwan were primarily represented in our international population. So of this total population, it was pretty much an even split between freshmen and transfer students, and then pretty much evenly split by gender. We then took it a little bit further and said, well, you know, who of this group is identified as at risk? And that 5% of the population. And of those at-risk students, we had more freshmen than transfer students. So it kind of indicated that maybe the freshman students needed to be targeted. And then more males than females were in this at-risk group. Okay, so then we thought, well, let's just take a look at our freshmen. What do they look like? From which countries are they coming? And China was the top country, Canada, South Korea, and India. And then we, out of that group of freshmen, identified the citizenship country of our at-risk students. And if you can see here, India now moves to the top, and that's 25.5% of the population. This is a comparison table here. So the middle column represents of the total freshman population, what is the representation of that citizenship country. And then the last column is what percentage of that country is at risk. And again, we can see India represented 11.5% of our population, but they're now 25.5% of the at-risk population. So we're probably going to go in and take a look a little bit further at our students from India. And also, they were more male than female. So we may have identified an at-risk group here of male students from India. So that's what we did with that. That's just one small piece of information that we pulled from a number of variables. Another thing that we're just kind of looking at is relationships, correlations. We threw in number of ALI courses that the students take, undergraduate GPA, writing 140 grade, writing 340 grade. And this is kind of what we came up with. It's not really that surprising. That there was a positive relationship between how well a student does in writing 140 and writing 340, speaking to perhaps language skills and GPA. And interestingly, there was a negative relationship, well not, this also makes sense, between number of ALI courses and how well a student did in writing 140. That's it.
And so now that you've heard a little bit about the research, I'd like to sort of turn to the students for a couple of minutes. You've heard a little bit about engagement and filtration and sort of that transition to the school. Did anything from this hit home for you guys? Is your experience been similar? Has it been different? Our students represent 3 different countries and 3 sort of different parts of the world as well, so it may be different for each one of you.
I don't know. Honestly, for me, adjusting wasn't a problem. I'm sorry if I'm not helpful. The only thing that horrified me was people wearing sweatpants to class, and that was about it.
Sweatpants. Great.
Well, for me, it was a completely, I was in a culture shock when I came here. Yeah, seriously, because in India everything is so different, and this was my first time staying away from family after 22 years of my life. I was really pampered. I mean, I was a mom's baby, you know. So I learned everything in a hard way actually. We had servants, we had a driver in India. I basically did nothing. I just used to eat and sleep, that's it. Everything was taken care of me. So when I came here, well actually I was so excited to come to the US that I didn't even cry at all at the airport. I was so excited, I don't know why. But when I sat in the aeroplane and I just thought, you know, who's going to make breakfast for me tomorrow? And I got so scared that time. Then I realized the importance of my family. Anyhow, I landed over here. Luckily, I contacted some of the housing coordinators here. I got in touch with people, found a place to stay. Luckily, my roommates were pretty good. It helped me to get into the transition. But then I didn't know how to even break an egg. So I learned every single thing in a hard way. But it was a very good experience. Now I can say that I have transformed from a boy to a young man. Yeah, that was great.
And do you feel like it was sort of, you're obviously been successful because you're about to graduate.
Yes.
What can you point to in terms of facilitating that success? Was it an educational aspect? Was it a USC aspect? Was it your network of maybe friends and family you have already known before you got here? You know, what helped that for you?
I think the biggest support for me was my family. They were like a backbone for me. They always supported me, always motivated me, always encouraged me. Plus USC is such a friendly, I mean USC has wonderful people, to be honest. Like all my academic advisors, my department people, the place where I work, people are so friendly and it really makes you feel good. You feel like putting in the effort and they try to push you through. So I cannot give credit to just my family in India. There are a lot of factors because of which I'm talking here today and I'm about to finish my master's. So everything worked out to be fine the way I thought. It was a little difficult initially, but after coming here, the diversity factor here is also a very good point about USC. When I came here, I didn't feel alone because I could find a lot of people from India, a lot of people from China, and international people. And in my courses, I have a lot of people from Saudi Arabia, all different parts of the world. So I learned how to interact with people of different countries. I became more flexible, and I was really shy in India. I never used to talk to people. If you guys were in India, I think I would have been shivering by now. So there are a lot of things actually. There's a lot of transformation in myself, if I can assess myself 2 years back.
So Emmy, you're here in sort of a double capacity, both as a postdoc as well as a student.
Yes.
Will you speak a little bit more about the relationship aspect? Because we talked about, I think, his relationship with his family. Maybe your own as well as sort of what you're seeing in the
Relationship is my friend?
well, some of the research that you were looking at brought up the relationship factor. And maybe the positive and the negative of those relationships, and then also maybe your own experience with it, if you want.
Yeah, first of all, I had a hard time adjusting to U.S. I remember I landed at the O'Hare Airport. I saw the immigration officer had a beautiful, bright green eyes, and then that was the first time for me to see green eyes. And I thought, wow, everything he sees must be green. And then people are really tall, and then cars are big, and it was quite different from Japan. I went to Pizza Hut and I ordered medium pizza for myself because Japan medium pizza is this small. And the 3 Japanese girls went to Pizza Hut. We all ordered medium pizza, and they're this big. 3 of them on a little table, and there's so many adjustments I have to go through. The first 8 months, I think my instructor from English as a second language program helped me to adjust to new environment. I was not afraid to make a mistake in front of those faculties, and they are very, very understanding and very kind. They also taught me a lot of rules about U.S. culture, so like plagiarism, and then writing essays. Those are very difficult to understand in the beginning because we have a different, I think, approach to learning. And then the consequence of plagiarism, I was really surprised to hear the first time. So I think that instructor from the ESL program helped me a lot. And about relationship issues, I had a very interesting experience. I had my room in a dormitory, but the food was very difficult for me to get used to, like eat American food. So I ended up getting an apartment on campus first year. And then I was going through a culturation process. I wanted to learn more about American culture, so I looked for American host family, and I moved into their home. But oh my goodness, there was a lot of culture shock I experienced because like a dinner, family time, it was very different. And then in my mind, American family, I got the information from media. It's like Cosby show. So I thought they were always like funny dad, and then a very smart mother and then funny kids, and they all eat dinner together. That was my idea, but it was completely different. So there is a, so I end up leaving that family and go back to dorm. But relationship with like students, classmates, were easier for me to manage than my relationship with member of community, like my host parents or people from church. It was more difficult. And then relationships with my own family, because I'm going through the culturation process, I'm learning a lot of new things and language and culture, and I start to notice, wow, me and my mom and dad are a little different, and that was very uncomfortable to notice that. Yes.
I was wondering, for all three of you, have you met others, peers or students that you help that did not seem to assimilate or make that transition as well as you did? And what are some of the observations, maybe commonality? I know, Michelle, you mentioned some students, even though we have programs for them at USC, they don't have the incentive to take advantage. So what incentives are we talking about? Is it students not thinking these programs will contribute to their academic success or career success or personal growth? Like, what exactly is the incentive that will make a student take advantage of these programs?
Sorry, what specific programs are we talking about?
And if you want to be specific.
I was thinking like football games, actually. I was just saying, social-wise or academic-wise?
I'd be interested.
Okay. Academic-wise, I feel like just in general, like for other people being in a different country, coming here to USC, it's probably really intimidating for them. You have to let them know you're always like open to them. Social-wise, I think honestly is like the bigger issue, because what I'm doing actually is I'm going to try and make more international people go to football events, and I'm trying to think of ways to reach out to them, but it's just that whole different culture where they don't understand, maybe they're not really into sports like most USC Trojans are, and I think it's like you just have to reach out and try and embrace like the other international students and show them this whole new culture, and it's like you have to kind of lead them through it because they can't necessarily do that on their own because it's quite a hard process. It's something you need to walk through.
So let's sort of open it up a little bit for questions and maybe some dialogue back and forth.
I'd like to know from all three of the students, when you're admitted, you get an information pack, and then the schools send you information, and we have everything on the web. We hope we have everything on the web, and orientations and things. So, the university really does try to send you a lot of what we think is useful information. But what did we miss? What is one or two things that you wish you would have known before you landed on campus? What would have been really helpful?
I wish USC provided a pickup from LAX. Because for me, I didn't know anyone over here. I didn't know where to go. So that was a problem for me actually. So I did a lot of homework when I was coming to the US. Got in touch with people, Facebook, Yahoo groups, Google groups. So I wish USC bridges that gap.
They are
accommodate.
They're starting a pilot program.
Okay. That would be helpful.
It's a little late for you, but.
What else, guys?
Anything else that would have been helpful to you guys before you arrived?
Well, I didn't come to USC for my undergrad, so I cannot really speak for this program. But when I went to Western Illinois University, that was my first college I went to. They had a wonderful orientation, and then they actually guide us through going to like a local bank and help us to fill out the form for opening my own checking account, saving account, talk about social security system, because like in Japan we don't have a social security number, but here we do, so we need to apply that. and also they help us to learn how to ride a bus. But they really had a van, like a transportation, and then went to one office to next all day and learn about. And also we went to the grower, show me the gallon of milk. It's very different from how they sell things, and that was very helpful. And we also stopped by the health services, talk about insurance, because Japan we have a socialized medicine, like we have all different insurance, but this was different. So how to talk to doctor, and they also had a welcome dance, international dance party, and that was really, really fun, and I remember making a lot of friends.
I guess just making sure all the information is out there and knowing that, making sure they know it. I remember coming here for international orientation, and I mean, I guess I'm not exactly like super Asian, but we sat through a whole seminar going through American manners, which I kind of feel terrible about this, but me and my friend were laughing during that seminar, but then we looked around and saw that everyone was so serious about what they were learning that we just like stopped laughing. We're like, some people do actually need that, and then I realized that programs like that, seminars like that, as silly as it sounds to people who are already like adjusted, it is necessary for quite a lot of people here at USC.
I agree with that. Like for me, like when American students said, "I'll call you later," that means they don't call. Like dating also, like I'll call you later, you never hear from me. So, but in Japan, if you say I'll call you later, they'll call you. So that kind of like different cultural rules and how we communicate, I think that was very important for me to understand to make my life easier here.
Other questions?
Were there any resources provided for you in your home countries, either from the university or government, that were helpful that we might need to know about in Bangkok?
Well, I think USC had come to give a seminar in Mumbai and some other parts of India, but they did not come to the place where I come from, which is Hyderabad. So I really was interested in knowing a little more about USC before I joined, but I tried a lot. I couldn't go to Mumbai especially to attend that, but I just hope they at least had a recorded tape by which we could see it online. If not, we don't have to be physically present over there. Some kind of a conference thing for students who are interested. Yeah, that is one thing USC can improve, I guess.
A question for you all. We spend a lot of time working with international students, trying to help you understand us, I guess, a little bit. Do we spend enough time with students from the United States helping them understand international students? Do we feel we spend sufficient time doing our share of learn all about you?
The one thing which I noticed here is that people here expect us to know about their culture, but the vice versa is not happening. Unless you make friends with them, and not everyone is interested to know about your culture, unless he's your very good friend, or if he's a little modern, and if they don't think they are the superior in this world. But I hope even they should respect our culture. Then I'm not saying that I've had any bad incidents of being an Asian or being an Indian. Everyone's been really friendly to me. At least they showed up to be friendly. But I never faced that, at least in USC. But I heard some complaints from other universities, some of my friends who are in some other universities, that they feel some kind of a discrimination. Luckily not in USC.
The reason I say that is last night was the first time I saw anybody playing cricket on the quad.
Oh, okay.
I was also playing. I had no idea how to count. I didn't know what was going on.
It's something like baseball, yeah. Someone has to teach the rules and all.
I have a question. Well, actually, two questions. One to Jack and one to you, Emmy. The first question is to Jack. Now, I saw your research that you presented, and it was really amazing that there's a lot of international students. However, the university international students that are living in the dorms are 200 to 300. Now, are they undergrad students? And then the question I'm posing to you, Emmy, with your research was, I again too was amazed with the amount of students struggling with depression, because the numbers with depression in international students is a lot larger. So I feel that possibly desocialization and the lack of at USC and the population of international students being small contributes to that. Do you feel that possibly that would contribute to that? Such as me being in social work, the amount of students in the amount of international students in that school is small. Do you feel that contributes to it as well?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that we have a large number of undergraduate and graduate international students who live within our residence halls. A lot of them live in the apartment setting. I don't have that breakdown with me today, but we can get that information.
Okay, thank you.
I did not quite understand what you're asking, but I think a lot
That's
of
okay.
time. Oh,
Let me just clarify. What I recall with the presentation was the number of international students, and USC is the largest university that has the international, or largest amount of international students here. And they tend to be in their schools, and it's hard to socialize with the domestic students, and usually they are congregating to themselves. And I don't go back to, so we have groups of international students that socialize amongst themselves and have their discussions based on your research. So now, in regards to counseling and international students, I do know that there are some issues with depression, loneliness, not feeling connected. And so that issue, I feel there's maybe not enough socialization, which causes the other numbers to increase. So I would feel that what those two cause a conflict with each other, and what exactly causes one issue and causes the rise in the other issue.
I think when people go through adjustment, a couple of things happen. People get anxious, but they also get sad and depressed. And then the transition they're going through, coming from home country to here, is a huge transition. So I'm not surprised they experience some symptom of depression. And then also making friends, saying goodbye to family or familiar environment, it's hard to deal with. It's some sense of loss. I'm sure I experienced a sense of loss when I came here. So that can create some, feeling sad. And also, a lot of the time they have a huge dream, like, I want to accomplish this, I want to do this. But when we come here, we face English, language issues. So, and everything seems harder. It's maybe 3 times harder for me. So those struggle, I think those are very common challenges that international students face. And then once they become junior, they need to think about leaving America, going back home, and another goodbye is coming in the senior year, and also decide what they want to do. That's another adjustment they go through. So I think a lot of time international students, they try to stabilize their life as much as they can in this society, in this school environment, but their life is actually, there are changes happening every year. So anxiety, depression, I think that's very common symptoms we see. Dr. Reyes, do you want to say something?
I think you summarized it nicely. I think one added stress, said academic problem.
Mm-hmm.
Our international students are so bright. It's very competitive to come here. And so that adds to their stress. I know there's maintaining a certain status or number of enrollment. So they have additional stressors that our domestic students don't have. And how does that affect their job search prospects if they're considering staying here? That you know, they're working hard from the first day they come. And let's also keep in mind, you shared your own personal experience. Sometimes if they're really shy in their home country and they had difficulty there, not that you did, but coming here, and then you add language and a new culture, that can also add to their adjustment.
And then another thing I want to add, thank you so much, Elizabeth, is the visa issue,
Yes.
and then immigration issues add another stressor on top of like academic issue and making friends here, socialization issues. So in 4 years of 5 years, they experience a lot of changes. So that can create anxiety and depression.
Time for one more. One more question. Oh.
I wanted to kind of get back to the negative relationship between the number of ALI classes and performance and writing on 40. I'm just wondering if there's what might be a solution or what you see as suggestions for improving the relationship. Is it a question of admission? Is it a question of screening these people out before they're into the admission part of it? Or is it kind of modifying 140 to fit that? Or what's the next step?
I think it speaks to the importance of language in the first place, and maybe we need to put in place some courses beforehand. I think something we're talking about to help assist then when they do take writing 140. I think it's a writing 130.
Yeah, we're looking at Jean Vickers and Mary Lewis and Ken from Academic Review and myself and a couple other members of our Academic Support Center. We're looking at what could be a better way of looking at writing 140. Could it be a class, let's say writing 131, that is taught by individuals that have a background in, first of all, teaching English as a second language, assisting students in learning that transition from ALI classes to the writing program, and also it would course perhaps that would not necessarily have to be linked to a GE at that time. Are we finding that there's such a connection with the performance in writing and with the GE courses that are required, such as the diversity courses as our instructor, as Dr. Daniels talked about. So there's some things that we're looking at that might be helpful. But part of what we're all here today is to look at, there are other variables too that might be very important. We had one presenter, Chrissy Roth, who talked about a course that students, it was free for international students that could take that course and help understand a little bit about the American culture, politics, all sorts of information that can be helpful in that transition to not only American culture, but to the university and our community. So there are a combination of different things that we're looking at. I don't think we could say it's just one particular solution.
Pat, have they looked at the school system of the home country? I know
yes.
in judicial affairs we see, unfortunately, probably an unproportional amount of international students coming in for academic integrity. And many students, what I hear is that the grading system
yes.
or our school system in the United States is very different from their home, and so they're not writers. And again, this is a generalization. I don't know enough about international students in their home country school systems, but is that something that could possibly be looked at? A student coming from China may have a very different school system from a student coming from Turkey, and does that play? Is that one of the factors that we need to look at?
That's a very good point, because we're finding at some of the individual cases that we're looking at that students who have been prior to USC have the English system of learning. And when they come here, what is going to be expected is you have your quizzes, your midterms, and so forth. And for some of we're talking about our freshman students, will come in and they go, wow, I just can study all at once towards the end and take all these exams. When it's not necessarily how our system is.
I think like most.
Yeah, one thing, I didn't take English 140 here, of course, but I remember taking like a special like English course taught by the instructor who had taught like did some teaching in English as a second language program, and then it was slower pace, and I could even kind of split to 2 sections. I take 1 semester and finish first half, and take again and finish second half. So it was a year-long writing course, and that was really helpful. And also the teacher who put out their own notes on the blackboard was really, really helpful. Like almost like pushing universal design. Material is available for all students. That was really, really helpful for me to study.
It's a very good, important point, because when we look at, how many of you here have heard of universal design? It's having the available in the classroom in many types of formats, information that's being taught in the classroom. So in other words, if it's video, if it's in text format, all different types of media. And that, when we talk about diversity, we talk about not only from different countries, cultures, and so forth, but it's also diversity in students. Let's say our deaf students here at the university. How are they learning and incorporating into the not only the U.S. culture, but how to learn in the classroom? So one of the points is looking at how do we teach in the classroom? How do international students learn if we do provide the alternative formats, multimedia type of thing? And not only that for international students, but also all students. So it's something that is a very big project, but we're looking at our technology that we have these days and how we can collaborate and start slowly at USC. We do have many courses that are online, that are recorded in classrooms such as this, and that provide handouts, outlines, and so forth. That can be very, very helpful in that learning process.
Well, obviously this is a discussion we've just started, but we have to start another one. So I'd like to thank our panel.